Us, I think we already counted. We're live.
Now I see the broadcast is live.
Uno, dos, tres.
Uno, dos, tres.
That was not silent, but we just did it. So we're ready. Live. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thanks. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. I'm used to saying hi to you on a different platform and saying happy Friday. Here we are for Human Resource Executive today.
Yeah, well, we're going to shake things up a little. It's Thursday.
Yeah.
And we're going to count instead of 1, 2, 3, uno, dos, tres. Michelle's very impressed.
Yes. And you always tell me before we go live to take a deep breath. Did you take a deep breath before we started?
I'm constantly taking a deep breath these days, my friend.
Okay, if you're watching us live, please say hello to us in the chat. We are so chatty when we do these things, and we'd love to hear your questions, your comments, where you are. And if you caught Jason's first one with Steve Bowes a couple weeks ago, Jason, you were at a baseball tournament in your car when you did this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the new now of work. It was a great baseball tournament. Yeah. Now I'm in a hotel room, which is the also new now of work. So yeah, all good.
Perfect.
I see no comments, Jess.
It could be nobody's watching. We're just talking to each other, Jason.
We have some swag. Whoever puts the first comment in that we can see, we have some swag for.
We have great LeapGen swag. And my next item of swag I'm coming out with is going to be a LeapGen koozie. You can take out on a boat, on the beach, take it to the lake. So you better talk to us. Jason, we are here to talk about something today. Thanks, by the way, to Human Resource Executive and to ADP for sponsoring this series of conversations. Steve Bowes and Jason kicked it off.
Lorraine, we have a winner. Lorraine, we have a winner.
Perfect. Thank you for saying hi to us. Now we don't feel so lonely.
Lorraine, connect with me on LinkedIn, and then I will get your address for the swag.
Yep, perfect. So we are, this was the second part in a 3-part series. You talked to Steve Bowes about tech, HR tech, workplace technology. We're going to talk about experience. And then Ben Brooks is on in a couple weeks talking about culture. Nobody better than Ben Brooks talking about culture.
Agree.
And Jason, how many times this week have we talked about experience, do you think?
Well, this is the third session today.
Exactly.
So, yeah, a lot.
It's the topic everybody loves to talk about, and that's good. That is a good thing. I'm glad we are so obsessed with employee experience. We should be. We always should have been. But let's break it down a little bit. We're talking about it differently.
Can we talk about for a second just why we're obsessed with employee experience?
Yeah, good point.
We're obsessed with employee experience because we are all consumers and we all love a good consumer experience. So, hi, Ranjit. So I'm staying in Asheville, North Carolina, and I just went to a coffee shop called Old Europe. And Old Europe, I walked in. This was the third time I've been there in the last 2 days. And when I walked in, they said, "Hey, Jason." I was like, "Wow, how do you know my name?" They're like, "You were here yesterday. You left a tip." I was like, "Nice." They said, "Where are you from? You're so nice." I said, "I'm from Minneapolis." "Oh my gosh, Minneapolis!" Like I walked out of that place, I gave them another big tip. But we love to feel good. I think it's an easy way to say it. We love to feel good. We love to feel good as consumers, and we need more than ever our employees to feel good, to feel loved, to feel human, to feel accepted, to feel safe. So that's why we're talking about all this.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd be curious to know, by the way, if that coffee shop was fully staffed and if every employee was smiling and if everyone could say that they loved their jobs and that this is what they would do if they could choose to do anything. I think that's the problem we're feeling right now. We keep talking about the labor shortage. There are help wanted signs posted everywhere. And when business reopened and welcomed their staff back and posted all their help wanted signs, part of the problem is that nobody applied. Nobody came back to the jobs they had before. So something was missing in that experience.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. But another part of the problem is, well, we are trying to get people to come back because things were shut down. You've also got people leaking out your back end. I mean, that didn't sound good. Leaking out the back end.
Yeah.
Because all people did was like, oh, we didn't take into account the fact that people are different now.
Yeah.
We didn't take into account that people are closer to mortality now. Mm-hmm. We didn't take into account that people have lived through the craziest 18 months of their life ever and still are. Organizations just said, hey, return to work. We're open. And hey, maybe we'll worry about you being safe physically. But we didn't take into account the emotional side, the spiritual side. We didn't take that into account. And what it's doing is it's causing leakage. So the faster I can recruit, just as fast people are leaking because you have to be back in the office. Like, that's bull. Excuse me. It's not good. You can't say people have to do anything right now. If there's ever a time to be empathetic to people and to create the best possible employee experience, it's now.
And I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. I do agree people changed.
Let's go.
But I'll agree people changed. And most people we visit with, or, casual conversation with friends, acquaintances over a cocktail would tell you that they feel different, that they go about their everyday life, or they make choices differently now than they did before. How you spend free time that you have, whether you've become a homebody or you miss travel. Like, I agree, people did change as a result of massive, significant global shifts in everything we experience on a day-to-day basis. But I also want to argue that we've always been human. We've always had passion and felt love and cared about things. We've always wanted to contribute value in meaningful ways. We've always wanted to get paid fairly. We've always wanted, I think human beings have always been whole, holistic, complete, full human beings, but we've never seen people that way in the workplace. And I think what has changed is that we're finally saying, you know what? Enough. I need something different. I deserve something different. I deserve to be treated with dignity and respect in the workplace. And that means give me an experience that's designed for me, where I can be effective, help me be productive. I can contribute tons of value, but not in these like broken, archaic systems where you don't even like recognize all of the things that make me me. I think that's the biggest shift.
I mean, yes, we've always been human, but there's two things. So ask yourself this question. It's 2021 outside of work. What year does it feel like inside of work? Not related to technology, but just in general. The customer experience I got at this coffee shop, does it feel that way inside of work? Yes or no? It's not we can't do that because of blah, 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 blah. It's like, yes or no? Another question is, and statement is, and the question to ask yourself is, you're human outside of work. But the things you ask managers and leaders to do at work, are they human? Are they human? Are the dumb processes that you ask people to do because you've always done it that way, are they human or are they inhuman? Am I still asking people to do performance reviews? I was with a customer just last night on the phone who said, we're launching our 2021 performance review process. Like, shut up. They're like, no, seriously. I'm like, why? Like, we can't give people a raise otherwise. I'm like, that's just because that's the way you've always done it.
Yeah.
You can. There's other ways to do that. Or someone else I was with last week said we're doing our yearly engagement survey. Like, yearly engagement surveys don't work. I mean, it's a data point, but if you're checking in with people once a year, like, dude. So, I mean, I'm sorry to be so passionate about this, Jess, but everything you said is exactly right. We've always been human, but HR has not designed for the human. HR has designed for the function and then hoped that the human would come along. And that is a huge difference.
Yeah. And it was not a surprise to me, but it was to see it so starkly laid out. You and I both poured through Burson's latest report, Josh Burson's latest report around HCM excellence. So everybody looks to human capital management solutions, technology, as they should, to provide innovative options and solutions for meeting people where they are, for reaching people anywhere. I mean, that obviously technology is a beautiful solution for some of the things we're trying to accomplish, but it's not the end all be all. And in the latest report, one of the data points, there's lots of fascinating data points. I encourage everybody to find it and read through it. We're going to have him on our show and talk through it a little bit more. But only 11% of organizations, Jason, said that in the process of implementing a human capital management technology solution, 11% saw a difference when it came to employee experience. What's the miss?
Yeah, I have a really simple answer to it. You should never implement an employee experience solution as your strategy.
Yeah.
Period. Period, end of story. And I don't care if you work for an employee experience software vendor. You should, as end users and as organizations, be deploying employee experience strategies. You must be deploying employee experience strategies. Part of that is probably the implementation of some technology to fuel your strategy. But the implementation of a piece of software, thinking that it's going to create an employee experience that people love, in the world of employee experience, which is so much bigger than how they use technology, please don't get caught up in it. 89% of people out of 100, how's that, are disappointed because why? A, they shouldn't be implementing technology thinking it's going to change employee experience alone. They should be deploying. There's a big difference between deploying and implementation. Second of all, you have to realize that technology itself isn't what employee experience is based on. Employee experience is based on feeling. So design for the employee, design for the manager based on how you want them to feel, then take your tech and enable it to make them feel that way. But if you start with the tech, you're going to miss. As we saw, 89% have missed. And the third thing is no one wants to work in HCM solutions. Employees don't like working in modules. They don't care about a module. When you go on to buy something on Amazon, you don't say, oh, I need to go into the credit card module. Now I need to go into the search module. Now I need to go into the store module. You don't do that. It's a journey. When I went to get the coffee, it's a journey. I didn't go into that, say, oh, which module am I in now? I'm in the order module. Am I in the collaboration module? Am I in the payment module? It's a journey. So the only people that care about modules are us in HR or in IT. The only people that care about processes, are us in HR. Processes generate data. Journeys generate feeling. Employee experience is based on feeling. It's not based on data. I can use data to make people feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Melissa just asked a great question.
I know.
Melissa?
I promise I didn't pay Melissa. You just asked Jason's favorite question. Can we have your information too? You get swag for this.
Yeah, send me a LinkedIn,
It's the question. It's the secret. It's honestly the difference between a failed and a successful technology solution. This question right here.
Melissa, implementation is of technology. Deployment is of a strategy. Deployment includes the implementation of technology, but it involves so much more. It involves what are my measures of success? What's my vision? How do I get a bunch of people to unlearn? How does change work? And change doesn't equal training. How do I govern? How do I make sure that I'm thinking about how do I deliver in a way that creates a seamless journey, not processes and modules? It drives me crazy every single day of my life that people use systems implementers and implement technology thinking it's a deployment. It's not. Implementation is implementing the technology, which is awesome. You need to do it, but you have to implement within the context and construct of your deployment strategy. If all of a sudden you just jump into implementation and your measure of success is go live, you've all been to these stupid go live parties, where people gain 30 pounds, they get divorced, they're tired, their hair's grayer than usual, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, that didn't meet the goals we were trying to achieve. But guess what? Phase 2 will be better. Phase 3 will be better. Phase 4 will be better. We live in a world where we don't get those opportunities. Minimum viable product doesn't work anymore. It has to be minimum lovable product, which has to be tied into a deployment, not an implementation. So the difference between deployment and implementation is part of deployment. If organizations only go into it and select a quote unquote systems implementer, what are you going to get? You're going to get technology implemented brilliantly, but oftentimes not tied to your strategy, oftentimes not tied to your vision. And then all of a sudden people say, oh man, the technology sucks. And it's not the technology that sucks. It's you, it's all of us that suck, because technology is dumb unless we give it its goals, we give it its vision, we govern it correctly, and we realize that transformation is continuous. We don't call these things projects, they're programs. The programs live on and on and on. So Melissa, you touched a hot button, as you can tell. But the number one reason why that number is 11% is because people implement technology thinking it's going to change employee experience. And it only happened where people were satisfied in 11% of the case. The other 89 did not deploy a strategy and therefore are disappointed. And what they're doing is they're blaming the technology, which is not fair.
I'll give you a really granular example of that. Let's just say you're implementing everybody on the planet is hiring right now, so that's an easy topic, and you're implementing a recruiting solution to help you process applications and make hiring decisions and get people in the company. If the vision that you have for a beautiful candidate experience is that your job seekers, whether or not they get hired, will say that is the easiest application process they've ever been through. It was actually pretty fun, and they feel even better about your brand and your company than they did before they knew you. If that's the goal, if that's the vision that you want to create, how are you going to measure that? You have to ask a few questions. And what does that look like? That means I don't ask you for your name and address 17 times. That's not very fun. That's not easy. But if you were only doing implementation, you don't think about that. You just implement all the features and the bells and whistles, and you're not thinking about the actual end experience. That's a really granular, simple, sort of example, but that's where mistakes are made. And then the recruiter logs into the module and says, where is my button to process to disposition them from this status to this status? Why do I have to click this 10 times? This doesn't make any sense. That's not a great experience either. But that's the mistake you can make when you put blinders on and you just implement and turn knobs and do bells and whistles and turn everything on because it's there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, the formula for employee experience is transaction plus interaction. And Lorraine, your comment about the journey, deploying processes are never going to work. It's tied to the journey. So Lorraine, let's just say you're about to have a baby. I have no idea who you are. So I don't know if that's applicable, but we'll just play along with me, Lorraine. You go to your portal. You type in, I'm having a baby. What do you find? What pops up? Okay. First step of the journey. If what pops up is, congratulations, Lorraine, here are the things that you should do now that you're pregnant. And it is a step-by-step process. Here's a video from the CEO that says, Lorraine, I'm so glad that you're having a baby. We're really, really excited to welcome your new family member into the company, and we're here to support you. Now, just think about that. The first thing I did was an interaction. Now, how do you feel, Lorraine, right now? You found what you were looking through at the portal, and you got an interaction. And then I start walking you through. Hey, Lorraine, we need a little bit of information. When are you due? Lorraine, we need a little bit of information. Let's say you had the baby. What's the baby's name? Hey, we need a little bit of information. Oh, by the way, Lorraine, in your zip code, here are the perks and rewards that are available to you as a new mom within that zip code. Oh, and by the way, Lorraine, our parental leave policy is this. We hope you're ready to take advantage of it. What can we do to help you with it? So if you think through that, Lorraine and everyone, I'm walking you through a journey. Now, I could add in some other things like we do at LeapGen. Here's the onesie. You should have gotten a onesie in the mail with the logo on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Lorraine, you said that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
What that really does, Lorraine, it sounds amazing, but it's making you feel good as an employee of that organization. Okay. Now, if you type in, you go to your portal, you type in, I'm having a baby, and nothing pops up. And what do? You're like, oh man, now what do I do? I have to call someone or find someone else who is pregnant, and they're just like, oh, guess what? You don't have to type in, I'm having a baby. You type in, I'm having a dependent. I'm having a dependent? That's HR speak. And you wouldn't know to type in, I'm having a dependent. Same thing happens with I'm moving. You type in, I'm moving. What happens? Sometimes nothing. But if you type in change my address, then you'll find it. That's all not employee speak. That's HR speak. And if we don't design for the empty chair, which is the employee and the manager, and Lorraine, make it a journey instead of just a set of weird transactions buried in systems, what we get is what you just said. That sounds amazing versus I go from engagement to enragement. I get lost. I call. And then people are like, oh, the business partners are so busy answering the phone. Well, they're so busy answering the phone because we basically created inhuman processes that it requires an HR person to understand how they work. That is the antithesis of employee experience in 2021.
And to take that example one step further, Jason, we have the pleasure of working with an incredible organization whose values and culture, everything is so aspirational.
Well, we work with lots of those, by the way.
We work with lots of those. The one in particular I'm thinking of, our own consultant, Alex, tells the story about that example. And this was real, by the way. In that example, once an employee has the baby, the very next experience they would have on their journey, by the way, which creates feelings, is, was it a healthy delivery? Because if it wasn't a healthy delivery, if there are complications or health issues for mom or baby, or if anything else, God forbid, that would trigger a set of an experience and a set of steps where the manager checks in and things happen to understand how to support the employee. Now, if it was a healthy delivery, then the onesie goes out and leave kicks in, and all of the proper things are triggered that should happen in that experience. And that's the problem, Jason, I think, with experience, is that we have the best technology, you say this all the time, we've ever had at our fingertips. So all of this is possible, and we know it. That's the worst part. We know what a good experience should feel like, what systems and technologies and interfaces should feel like when they act like they know you, and when they personalize and cater to you a highly relevant experience that that guides and, and feels good and is actually helpful and actually makes me feel, closer and more connected to the experience, to the journey that I'm on.
Yeah. And it's, Jess, it's all about design.
Yeah.
All about design, and it's all about designing for your worker. I mean, I just did an event an hour ago, as you know, where someone said, hey, we have a hybrid workforce where people are disconnected from technology. How do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's making sure, which, by the way, there's lots of ways to do that.
Totally.
But you're designing for them
Mm-hmm.
intentionally, and you're sequencing intentionally to make sure that your phase one is a minimum lovable product versus a minimum viable product. And guess what? Once you say you have an employee that says that all sounds amazing, or Lorraine's going to say eventually that feels amazing, guess what?
Yeah.
Then you've got them. Like, this is a great place to work. And you keep building on that muscle over time around experience. If you're trying to say, oh, we're just going to do a peanut butter spread of how this works across all of our employees. People do this all the time. Let's roll out self-service, and we're going to roll it out to everyone. And the same message, the same transactions, et cetera, that doesn't work. People they're not all doing the same things. They're not all doing the same jobs. They don't have access to all the things, and they all feel different. So it really requires you to take a much more B2Me approach.
Mm-hmm.
Find the personas in your workforce and design for those specifically. I'm going to ask the people that are on here if that makes sense. Just say yes or no, so I know you're listening. But I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. And while you're responding, what you just said, and do it holistically. I mean, I came from the talent acquisition side of our people and workspace. And what drove me more nuts than anything was that handoff, that really abrupt, I run this relay race, Jason, called the Ragnar. And you literally slap a wrist bracelet, a slap bracelet on the next runner. And it's a very smooth and clean handoff. Imagine if that was your employee experience. The talent you spend so much time, money, effort attracting to your organization in the hopes of matching them to a great opportunity and bringing them on board, in the hopes that they become high producing and promotable and make referrals to you, in the hopes that, on and on. But we have these either missing handoffs or these sloppy handoffs where it all looked great, sounded great, felt great at first, and then I become an employee and my experience is different. I hope not lackluster, but sometimes lackluster. Or I transfer to another part of the organization, or I leave and come back. There are so many handoffs, so many connection points. You have to think about the entire employee life cycle as one holistic and complete journey for people. And you can build those connections. But again, that's so much about knowing your people and designing journeys and experiences for them. And technology is an enabler, and it's probably going to take lots of pieces of technology. But that's the way you need to think about it.
Yeah, Kendria, your question is brilliant. We need her address. We need her address also.
Yep.
But so, how do you quantify the employee experience? How do you quantify customer experience? I can't talk to Kendria. This format, I can't actually talk to her. How do you quantify customer experience? You quantify customer experience based on feeling, Net Promoter Score. Okay, or how many of you have been to a public facility where you walk out of the restroom and there's that thing there with the smiley faces, green, first of all, weird to touch when you're leaving a restroom, but you're like, oh, what's going to happen here? Quantify based on how people feel. And what you want to do is you want to make sure, Kendria, that the message that you're delivering to them is that all of these tools are for them. All of these tools are for them to bring their best selves to work. For managers and leaders, all of these tools are to make sure that managers and leaders can grow and develop their people. Okay? Now, if the tool doesn't do that, you should ask yourself a question: why are you doing it? Why are you doing performance reviews once a year when every manager hates it? Why are you doing engagement surveys once a year when the data is not actionable versus checking in on people? So we live in a new world, Kendria, where our metric is based on checking in on people, not checking up on people. We live in a new world where our metric is enabling people, not monitoring people. And the only way to do that is to listen and act. Listen and act. There's brilliant listening tools. One of the things that we do, Jess and I do a Friday meetup every Friday at noon Central. The first question we ask is, how are you? It's such a scientific question, isn't it? How are you? We basically say, how are you? Green, yellow, or red? Green, I feel great. Yellow, not so good. Red, bad. But guess what? If I have that simple data, I can act on it now. Kendria, if you tell me right now you're red, I'm going to find you on LinkedIn. I'm going to message you, and I'm going to ask you what I can do to help. But if you do that once a year, and it's Kendria, you're equal to an N equals 8, I have no chance at helping. I have no chance. And then guess what? The exit interview comes, we're like, what could we have done different? Sorry, that was a rant. But really, Kendria, your question I love. That's the reason why 89% are unhappy is because they walk in thinking that they're going to change the employee experience when really all they're doing is putting a piece of technology in that has the capability to do that. I mean, the Play-Doh can do it. But at the end of the day, I'm building a building, but what I asked was for a unicorn. It's the same Play-Doh. It's the same throat to choke, yet the design and how you're designing for who is completely different. And I'm very glad you're green. It makes my day.
Me too. And you how do you quantify employee experience? I'll ask it a different way so I can answer it this way. Why does experience matter? Because people matter. People matter, period.
Shut up.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? People matter. How they feel, whether they're happy, how they find joy, the value they want to contribute. You need people in your business to be happy, to be effective, to feel safe, to feel like they belong. That's what's going to make your business thrive, period. Thriving people make for thriving business. And we can't thrive if things are hard.
So Jess, we have comments from Lorraine, Melissa, and Kendria.
Yep.
So, and I only have one LinkedIn request, and it's from Lorraine.
Okay.
So Melissa and Kendria, we need your information. And I just got a note in the private chat saying, let's wrap up soon. Yeah. So I hate wrapping up. But, yes, But anything you want to close on, Jess?
No, I'm so glad that everybody is rightfully obsessed with employee experience. I do encourage you to really think about what that means and why it matters. It's human experience. It's total experience. We're all customers. We're all consumers. Yes, we're employees. We take care of customers. Experience. We're really talking about making things easy, making it feel good. How do you make people feel effective in a way that they can contribute value? That's humanizing work in my mind. We're really talking about humanizing work. So I love it. I love that we're obsessed, but I really want us to think critically about what this means today in the now of work. Jason, how about you?
No, I just think that it's really, and right now, times are really fragile. And we have to be really agile. We have to be agile in fragile times. Every day, the world is changing faster and more than ever. And we like some of it. We don't like some of it, but it is here. And our ability is to adapt, unlearn, relearn as quickly as possible. So to HR Executive and to ADP, thank you for having us. Love these conversations. I hope it was beneficial to whoever's watching. And look forward to seeing you guys at another event soon.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody who joined us today. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.